imagine this scene. A candlelit dinner for two, fine wine, majestic music wafting in the air. What comes to mind? Yeah, romance, a couple falling in love, perhaps even a marriage proposal. Listen to a wedding song there. Okay, how about this scene? Another scene for you. Goats, sheep, hot sun overhead, and a watering well. What's going to happen next? Well, in the Bible's world, that's also a scene where, that more often than not, it precedes marriage. That's right, a young maiden, a shepherd, flocks meeting to slake their thirst, and before you know it, we're hearing about their descendants. Times may have changed, and you might not have quite intuited it, but last week's reading also had connotations of marriage. It wasn't an official marriage ceremony. Remember when Sarah is given back to Abraham in Gerar? There's that 1,000 shekel gift that the kingly father, Abimelech, it's almost like a dowry, which he gives. And there's also a veil of sorts where Abraham's eyes are a covering for Sarah, we're told. And then in the next scene, which is today's reading, we hear of the birth of another child, Isaac. What does his name mean again? That's right. And so although it's not like an official ceremony, it has all the hallmarks of a wedding. And for those of you who have attended weddings, how would you describe a wedding? When we think of weddings, what comes to mind? Joy. Yeah, what else?
Lively.
They're lively? Yeah, absolutely. Good. Pay more attention, Judy. They're lively. Love. I think someone say love, maybe?
I said love, she said long.
Oh, love. Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, tears of joy. One of the parishioners, his daughter just got married a week or two ago, and he said when he was bringing his daughter down the aisle, he didn't know what was going to happen. The tears just started coming. And he just pointed out to a little child beside him. He's like, I just remember when she was this little, and now she's all grown up. And so, yes, tears certainly. So they're a sublime milestone, aren't they? Weddings. But what ensues months, years later, however, like much of human history, isn't exclusively happily ever after. If it's like anything like today's reading, the story will be both comedic and tragic, with real tears and the prospect of certain death. Such is life in a fallen world. Our reading, if you caught it, also ends with notes of hope, alongside a mention of another marriage. Did you catch who got married at the end of the reading? Ishmael, that's right, Ishmael. And you hear of the next generation, so the next generation being wed. And so we have this overlap between marriage-like stories of Abraham and Sarah in Gerar, as well as Ishmael in the deserts of Paran. Now, what happens in between? Let's start with the scene of Isaac's birth, and what a scene it is. It's one that for this elderly parent really hits home a little bit. Now, so just picturing, Isaac is weaned, and in the biblical reckoning, this could mean about age 3 or so. And Abraham throws this massive party, kind of like, your parents are going to throw a big party for you when you graduate. Well, anyways, he's 3, so he's all grown up. Actually, infant mortality was quite high in the ancient times, so it was really a party. It meant not only did you survive like the first year or two, but you were admitted into the tribe, into the clan. Some suggest Isaac might have been wearing some really fine clothing. And the party also signals, though, that Abraham's heir is there. He's alive. He's made it. He's right here, the promised child. Please welcome him. That's the party. And I picture Abraham just sitting back, watching. Ishmael is playing there, and the Septuagint specifies, as well as the Vulgate, that he's playing with Isaac. And Abraham is finally at rest. And he's not migrating, he's not fighting, he's not resolving conflict, he's not negotiating, he's not running out to serve a meal to guests, he's not intercessing, he's just enjoying his family, watching his sons playing and vicariously just soaking in all of the excitement. Now, play, of course, I mean, you guys might be a bit too old for this, maybe you still play with your siblings. It can be rough. Right? And the term for playing is actually Isaacing. So Ishmael is Isaacing. It can be translated as laughing, because remember, Isaac means laughing. It can also mean jesting, or in some translations, it can even mean mocking. So Ishmael is Isaacing. And either way, Sarah does not approve of Ishmael Isaacing. She doesn't want a pretender, a pretend heir either, right? So in the midst of all these festivities, she calls Abraham over, speaks into his ear, cast them out. It's not like, can you put Ishmael in a timeout or something? The word for cast out, it's the same that we hear of Adam and Eve. Being cast out of Eden. In the New Testament, it's the term expello. It's the term for exorcism. And notice, Sarah doesn't say, cast out my handmaid or your son, but rather cast out this slave woman and her son. Now, imagine Abraham's situation. This word in his ear gets him very distressed, quite naturally. And he's, we're told, very grieved on account of his son. But it's not his only problem. His life is imploding. The sons he loved reinforces animosity between the women in his life. A life he wants to hold together. His old way of living is falling apart. And Abraham's problems run deep. Deeper than complex family relationships, he's still building imperfectly, still holding on to a limited human vision of how things should be. And as this falls apart, God's voice comes to him. Don't be distressed. Do as she tells you. Now, the promise of Isaac is reiterated, as well as a new one, at least new to Abraham. Ishmael will also be made into a nation. Now, briefly, Abraham waits until the next morning before acting. He's probably wondering, you can imagine, what does he do the next morning? We're not told of his parting words. Yes? Prudent, like wisely. Prudence it's like you're thinking of it. Like phronesis, I think is the Greek term. So it's a virtue of thinking before you act. So Sarah tells him this, but he waits until the next morning before taking the action. That's prudence. Yeah. The Beatles had a song about it. So imagine, so how is this all going to play out? Now, we don't know what Abraham's parting words are. Does he tell Hagar about Ishmael's promise, which he just received from the Lord? What are his last words exactly? We don't know, though Abraham does obey God's word. So in that sense, God has the last word in the relationship. And so early that fateful morning, he puts, what did he give her? Do you remember? Did you catch it?
Bread and a water skin?
Yeah, that's right. And he puts this onto Hagar's shoulder, also giving Ishmael to her. That's a big deal. Now, last time, Hagar, do you remember why she left the time before?
Yeah.
She was ground down, yes, by Sarah. Here, Abraham previously had looked on, but he didn't act. And Hagar, exasperated and pregnant, she left the previous time without Abraham's intervention. This time, he takes initiative. He takes responsibility, and he's willing to sacrifice his previous life to let his old vision die and God's vision live. And like before, Hagar heads in the same direction, to the wilderness of Beersheba, near the Negev desert. It's basically the southernmost limits of is what becomes Israel's kingdom. Now, understandably so, all this is a bit much for Hagar. I mean, what a jolt. Do you think she saw this coming? Like, last night, weren't our kids just playing around, having fun? And wasn't I family like the last 15 years? What about that? I mean, Sarah, you used to find me useful. And Abraham, didn't you love me? Well, this morning, she's back on her own, down that lonely road again, where she doesn't want to be. And Hagar's name, anyone remember what her name means? It's flight or wander. And wander she does. She flees until the water dries up. In some ways, that's symbolic of her life with Abraham. It's spent. Exhausted, she despairs, not quite like Dido, seeking a perverse self-slaughter, but she does resign herself to the circumstances that she sees. And do you remember what she does? Do you remember what she says?
When she puts them down, because they're in the water, and she's like, I'm not going to watch them now.
Yeah, it's a muffled prayer, a very indirect one. She says, don't let me see the boy die. And in some ways, Hagar is laying down her best weapon by failing to address God directly. The one she called in Genesis 16, El Roi, the God who sees me. Instead, she doesn't even address him. It's like a half-hearted prayer. Don't let me see him die. She's not talking to God directly. Instead, what's she doing? She's fixing her eyes on what? Well, like every child who gets hurt, what do you do reflexively? What do you fix your eyes on when you get injured? Yeah, sure. Or how about the pain, right? Your distress. Look at me. Look what happened. Can't you see this? Hagar sees brokenness, and through her tears, all she sees is suffering. And that, as well as Abraham's empty water skin, which she probably kicks away, maybe even muttering, so much for you or your mighty father, Ishmael, where's he now, right? We've been left to die. And paradoxically, her misdirected sight, it amplifies her troubles. It both veils heaven's hope and conceals the faith of Ishmael. She might avert her eyes or want to avert her eyes from his death, but it also means she can't see what's going on in his eyes. The faith Abraham has taught him is still kindled in his heart. And Hagar's difficulty is not unlike Abraham's previously. It's conflating human plans and God's. Like Abraham, she's been called to leave her father's house, to a land that she doesn't know. But that whole prayer thing is just not cutting it for her. Her half-hearted, unguided, and misdirected prayer, as noted, it fails to hit the target. So how could she pray? Like, what should she say?
Where do you want me to go?
Sure, that's a natural prayer. She could call upon God's faithfulness, right? Place her very real terror in his hands. Like you, Hagar is not without resources. She's encountered the saving hand of God before. In fact, the angel of God has appeared to her before, way back in Genesis 16, when she was at the well, and told her about a promise. She was given a promise. Do you remember what the promise was?
That her son, that he would like strike back for
Yes, he'd be a wild ass of a man. It was a great promise. I love that. What else? It was a promise, though. He would be what? The father of many what? Yeah, nations. Right. So why not lean, Hagar, into those promises? You might not recall, but Hagar had previously named the well Bir Laha Roy, which means the well of the living, let's get this right, the living well of the one who sees me. So the living well of the one who sees me. And she even called God, you are God who sees me, and now I have seen the one who sees me. Well, that was back previously. So why not converse with the Lord again? Well, we have to guess what's going on here. And Hagar's mind. At Christmas time, I had a very indirect prayer. I had two prayers answered. One, I asked a number of students, what do you guys want for Christmas? And they had all sorts of things they mentioned. I noticed no one had mentioned more sleep. And that was my one request. I didn't actually make it a formal prayer, but I said, I just want to catch up on sleep. I thought that would be the best. And God answered that prayer in spades. I was getting like 7-8 hours of sleep sometimes. It was amazing. And so the other prayer I offered was during, I think it was Christmas morning, during my holy hour. I asked the Lord to show me, what was the first Christmas like? So Lord, what was it like you coming into this world? The answer surprised me. He gave me this image of the Eucharist. And God's answer is kind of like, well, in case you want to know, this is what taking on flesh is like. And praise God for such a delightful response. I also interpret that as God saying, hey, Merry Christmas. My gift to you is my flesh coming into the world, and it's still here. So it's still being given for you. And I failed to see it before, to make the connection. And Hagar fails as well to see. She submits to fear, wallowing in it, and thereby becoming mastered by it. The irony here is high. Sight plays such a key role in Hagar's life. Sarah earlier had seen her barrenness, and then she sees her own plans out. And when they go awry, Abraham's answer to her is, well, you see to it yourself, Sarah. That's human sight for you. But as Hagar walks into the valley of death, all she sees are shadows. And what breaks into her life? What unblocks her vision? What happened? Yeah. And now our translation says cry. Another translation is prayer. And whose prayer is it? Ishmael's. That's right. The future archer hits the target with his prayer. And just as God had opened the wombs in Gerar in the previous chapter, now he opens Hagar's eyes. Her eyes are open, and what does she see? Do you remember? That's right. The well of water. And God tells her to lift up the boy, take hold of him. It's no longer Abraham doing the lifting up. It's her. And so take hold of the situation, right? Of her son and his salvation. Filling the water skin with the water and giving him drink. Just as Isaac was weaned earlier and fed new food, well, now Ishmael gets these new living waters. And we're not told this, but I don't doubt, she also filled up his faith in God, confirming his prayer, plus telling him of the angel of the promise to him of becoming a nation. It's a complete reversal from being in darkness of death. And this is now a life of trust, of moving from focusing on my problems, But moving from focusing on our problems to focusing on God's power. Right. Now, this is the last scene for Hagar. What becomes of her? Well, did you catch what happened at the end? What does she do at the end of the scene?
She gets
Finds him away.
Yes. So what we can get is she finds her footing. She gains her independence. She comes to terms with the breakup. I'm not going back to Mr. Bread and Water's house anymore. No, sir. And your son, yes, he's going to become a wild ass of a man. What a promise, right? But as Dr. Fawcett pointed out, like, that's a great word of reassurance for Hagar. And good mother that she is, she doesn't leave Ishmael to figure out the promise of his own terms. She takes initiative to go back into Egypt, not to stay, but on her own terms to find a wife for her son. All right, quick show of hands. Who thinks we should go back to arranged marriages? I just want to. Oh, we got a few. Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, I didn't see too many hands there, but it's the thoughts. Just put it out there. Put it out there. Well, we're gonna work on it a little bit, I think. Okay. Well, Hagar. I have a number of daughters, by the way. If anyone's.
We still have to raise marriages. Well, we used these dating sites.
Oh, right. Okay, I have to download an app Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Very
Like it.
So, Hagar, she's not settling for comfort nor confinement. As later Israelites would be tempted to stay in Egypt. Rather, she's, as it were, taking some gold out of Egypt in order to live out the Lord's promises. And though we aren't told of Hagar's ultimate fate, I can't help but think of the Samaritan woman. I mean, Samaria kind of rhymes with Arabia, right? Well, like Hagar, the Samaritan woman, she was living outside of Israel's promises, right? She was hoping for peace, love, joy, but she was unable to find it. Like Hagar, she is seen by God. Her eyes are opened by the prophet at a well, just as Hagar's are opened by a prophetic promise. Hagar, parched and alone, is comforted and nourished by the waters of the living one who sees her. The Samaritan woman not only tastes the living waters, but like Hagar, she then goes and nourishes others with her testimony, watering the hearts and faith of others. And most importantly, it's at the well, under the height of the sun, that the woman who has had 5 husbands, now living with her 6, finds Christ, the 7th, the one who completes her. And this is the marriage that she, like us, deep down are waiting for. Yes, our lives have comedic and tragic aspects. We'll undoubtedly face heartbreak and stare at death, but we also have the bridegroom's promise. I am with you until the end of the age. That's our promise. I am with you until the end of the age. And thanks be to God, that aperture of water, eye and fountain are the same word in Hebrew. That well of hope opens wide to nourish our thirsting hearts as we call upon his name.